Hello.
Hello. Well, as you can tell from this collection, the mammoth job of sorting out all the valuables from your 3Bs has finally been completed.
And that means that we're now all ready for our special auction sale. It's being held at Phillips Auction Sale Rooms off New Bond Street in London on April the 22nd, which is a Tuesday. And judging by this sample of the lots, I think it's really going to go a bomb.
No, actually, some of the 3Bs are rather remarkable, like this one, which is a complete insignia of office. It's linked metal badges all the way around there on the velvet collar, and it's for the Royal and Ancient Order of the Buffalo.
Also in that lot will be 2 Masonic chains like this one here, and also something else which we don't really know what it is. It's the DOM. It looks American, sort of cedar glade. Somebody said it might be the daughters of Michigan or Massachusetts or something. And there's lots of little badges here. There's one that says for services rendered. But if you know what it is, we'd be very happy to hear, actually.
That's very intriguing, isn't it? Apart from those, of course, there are literally hundreds of buttons of every shape, colour and size. There's some very beautiful buckles. There's thimbles, there's badges, there's jewellery of all different kinds. It's amazing.
It is, and as Lesley said, this is just some of the lots that are going to be on sale at Phillips Auction Room on April the 22nd. And I've got the catalogue here. There's a picture of buttons there on the cover. Inside, there's a message from all of us, together with descriptions of all the different lots, including those that we've got here in the studio today.
And as well as the valuable items, which we hope naturally will be sold for a lot of money, there'll be a sort of special section reserved for lots for sort of pocket money prices as well.
And, of course, every single penny that's raised will go towards helping blind people all over Britain.
Oh, well, let's hope we really break all the records this year. Actually, with all this talk about auctions and things, I haven't taken a moment to say welcome back, John.
Oh, thank you. I've forgotten I've been away for a moment.
How did your filming go?
Oh, not bad. In the race, my driver came third. It was very good. There's a lot more filming to do, though, before the programme gets sort of finished. So.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be well worth waiting for.
I'm sure.
Well, ever since John and Percy Thrower were in the Blue Peter garden planting the other week, the weather seems to have turned damp and dreary. But the wet doesn't seem to have done any damage to the seeds, as I discovered when I was out there this morning with Percy. Oh, Percy, it's a bit cold for gardening today, isn't it?
Well, it is a cold wind, but it's been a cold wind since the first day of spring, hasn't it?
People best off are those under the cloche.
Yes, these are the ones
that
the peas, the lettuce and the radish that John and I were planting and sowing last time we were here.
Well, they've come on a treat, haven't they?
Yes, the peas are coming well. There's the peas. This side here, the radish. As we come along here, we can see those little seedlings coming up through there. And there are the lettuce. Rather thick. We'd see those will be thinned out and planted along each side of the row.
It's a very good show for what, 3 weeks?
It is, you know. They've enjoyed the protection of the cloche.
Lucky things, that's all I can say. Actually, the soil here is rather dry, though, isn't it, Percy? Sheppy, come along.
Well, it is on the top, but you see, underneath, if we just go underneath, there it is, it's quite moist underneath.
Yes.
And it's obvious that the moisture's rising in the soil because we look at the peas, they're getting all the moisture they want.
So the cloche is doing the job properly?
It is.
But outside the cloche, what about this soil, Percy? It
Well,
looks very,
if we look, this is when we were making the trench for the peas this morning. When we look at this, you see, there, it's too wet, really.
It's like a ball of clay,
But
really.
with this wind, this cold wind, and the sun, it will dry and then it will crumble. And if it is too wet, it's better to keep off it.
Yes.
Leave it for another week or 10 days. The seeds and the potatoes will come to no harm at all.
But, talking about potatoes, where are those potatoes that you planted?
Well, you see where the label is there, Lesley? That's where the potatoes are planted. Now, those were planted a month ago, and still no sign of them.
Now, when are we going to see something?
Well, they're better underneath the soil while this cold wind's blowing. About another week to 10 days, we should see them beginning to push their way up through the soil.
Good. I like that moment, actually.
Well, the spring is a fascinating time when you see the seedlings coming up, the potatoes coming up.
Then you know it's all working.
Yes.
That's good. Now, what can we do today in that case?
Well, sow peas.
Yeah.
And the pea we've got here is Little Marvel.
Yes.
And I've made here a trench, you see, an inch deep, and the width of the spade.
Yes, that's quite wide, isn't it?
It is quite wide, but then we sow peas in a wide trench. You see there?
No, we don't sow peas for Shep to eat.
They're quite large, and then just sprinkling them along the trench.
Yes.
Well, there's enough there for the birds as well as for ourselves.
How do you keep the birds off, actually, Percy?
Well, we'd have to put nets over here, as we did last year, I think,
Yes.
to keep them, the birds from picking them and taking them away. And then those, we pull the soil over for
Covered
cover for
over.
them each.
Well, so much for things pushing upwards. I've got a question about something that's just finishing, the daffodils. What am I supposed to do
the
with
daffodils
those?
started flowering very early, Lesley, this
Yeah.
year. In fact, some of them flowered January and February. And some of them are beginning now to go over. You see this
Yes.
one here? It's beginning to look a little bit shabby. It's almost finished.
Yeah.
Now, what we must do is take these dead flowers off. You see, behind here is a seed pod. Now, if that flower's left, that seed pod will form, and we don't want the plant to waste its energy on producing seed. So we just break that flower head off,
Yes.
put it on the compost heap.
Yeah.
But this is the important thing. Don't disturb these leaves. Now, people have a tendency to go around the garden, tie them into neat knots.
Yes.
But they don't, you see, the leaves can't function. These leaves are manufacturing the food. This food then goes down into the bulb
Yeah.
and builds up the flower for next year. So now is the critical period of when
that's-
flowering is finished. Make sure not to disturb the leaves to build up the bulb for next
Next
year.
year's strength. Right, I remember that, and I'll do those later. Now, what have we got here?
Now, we've got two drills here, or two little trenches. That's a V trench there.
Yes.
And this is for carrots, and that's for beetroot. Now, the carrot is a very small seed, and this we sprinkle, if I can do it this way, just very thinly.
Red
Right.
cord favourite we've got there.
Red cord, yes, it's a stump-rooted carrot, and if we sow it thinly, then it doesn't need thinning out.
Uh-huh.
And we can leave them, pull them those nice young, sweet young carrots, and use them, and leave some to go on and mature, you see.
Right.
And then in this drill here, another drill here, 1/2 inch deep, we're going to sow beetroot. Now, the beetroot is a larger seed. This cold wind,
You've
you
got
get
such cold fingers
all
you can't get in
fingers,
the
yes.
packet. That's it.
And the beetroot is a much larger seed, as we can see there. Now, we don't sprinkle those along the drill, not with those. We just drop them. 2 or 3 seeds at intervals of 9 inches apart along the drill.
So they'll sort of grow up in individual clumps?
Yes, and then we thin them, leaving the strongest plant
Yeah.
for each clump to grow and have a nice beetroot for pulling.
Right. That's a globe beetroot, isn't it, Percy?
Crimson globe beetroot.
Crimson globe beetroot.
Crimson globe beetroot.
Now, what about this drill down here?
Well, don't you think it would be nice to have a nice edging of parsley along there?
I think it'd be nice and very tasty.
Well, now the parsley again is a much smaller seed than the beetroot. It's a very tiny seed. You see, look here,
Yeah.
and that one's sowing very thinly along this drill in the front.
Well, Percy, I'll leave you to sow thinly along there. And I
Yes.
see that you've actually come up to meet here with last year's parsley, and presumably this will all come up again as well.
That parsley is what we sowed last year. That will come up with the better weather.
Yeah.
That will come up, and we'd have a nice picking.
Lovely. Percy, when do we see you back again?
I'll be back again in a month's time, Leslie.
Right, well, we look forward
Now,
to see you
all
then.
these seeds to cover over now.
Fine, I'll get on with that. Come on, Shep, come and help. No, I'm not playing, I'm working.
I don't know about you, I find it easier to understand what Percy's saying and showing there than to understand the writing on the packets of seeds. Now, if you're mechanically minded at all, I dare say at some time or other you've made a box cart or a go-kart for yourself like these, which are taking part in a sort of soapbox derby down a grassy bank. And if you're really invented, you might have tried to mechanise your go-kart by adding an engine to it. And if you have, I'd be very surprised if you managed anything like this. This go-kart is owned and driven by 6-year-old Paul Dawkins. He comes from Fakenham, and the interesting thing about it is it's made entirely from scrap.
Well, scrap it may well be made out of, but it can carry a full-size Noakes, and it's got a fair old turn of speed. It's been built by Paul's dad, Terry Dawkins, who's an inventor. And he made it, first of all, as a basic go-kart, which was a plank for Paul to sit on, 4 pram wheels and a piece of rope just to steer it with. But, Paul, after it was built, you weren't really satisfied, were you?
No.
Well, what did you have done?
Put an engine on it.
And the engine is underneath here. It's an electric motor, isn't it? What sort of motor?
Starter motor.
It's a starter motor. And you've got a battery at the back, 12 volts to drive it. Well, after you got the motor on, what did you want then?
Steering.
You got the steering. Well, the steering wheel's been adapted to the rope. It's a sort of old tram type. There's a handle there on a wheel, and that goes round. You've also got lights up there at the front, and you've got a horn as well, haven't you? Can you press the horn? That's a very old horn. How fast do you reckon it will go?
10 miles an hour.
Do you reckon you can do 10 round this studio?
Yes.
You want to go? All right, press the pedal, turn the wheel, and away you go. I'll give you a start. Oh. And there he goes. I reckon he could get quite a skid on going round there. If he can knock up to 10 miles an hour. Right, whip it round, right hand down, left hand down. The brakes work? Yes? Jolly good. That was super. Did you enjoy that?
Yes.
I thought you did. I wouldn't mind having a go myself. But besides driving an electrified go-kart, Paul's actually learnt to drive a full-size car. The other week I went down to Norfolk and he took me for a spin round a disused aerodrome. First of all, though, Paul's father had to adapt the standard-sized driving seat to the correct fit for a 6-year-old. What's all the fun rubber for?
Well, his legs are so short, and obviously Paul's short. To reach the pedals, they have to lift the seat up and block him forward.
Oh, you're talking about...
The 2 wooden blocks go under the back to alter the rake of it. Right, Paul, would you like to get in, would you? That's it. That's it. Now, the other one against the door. That's just to stop him bumping against the door.
OK, Terry, you coming round? Right. OK, start up. Start her up. And brake off. That was very good. Start off. OK. Second, we'll go straight into top. OK, right. There we are. It's all yours now. You can take us off into the blue. I have to admit, I felt a bit nervous as Paul put his foot down and built up speed. How long have you been driving now, Paul?
3 years.
What age did you start?
5.
5. What speeds do you normally get up to?
18.
80. Well, we're doing 40 now. That's halfway there. What's the big difficulty in driving?
Changing gear.
Oh, you can't quite reach the gear pedal yet, can you?
No.
Even though I had to change gear for him, Paul was quite an expert driver. We had a very smooth ride and I soon lost all my nervousness. But once round the airfield wasn't the end of my trip. Paul stopped the car at the end of one of the runways and challenged me to a timed run round the special slalom course.
When to drive off again.
That was very good, Terry, wasn't it?
Yes.
Is this the course now we're going to go through?
Yes, if you just drive round these heaps, through the pylons and back again, and we'll put the watch on and see how it comes out.
Right.
See
we'll
whether, in fact, your ability matches Paul's.
Right. OK. OK, give it the gun. From the passenger seat, the first bit of the course looked fairly simple. A few gentle corners, but the bends got tighter as the course went on. An old airfield is ideal for this sort of driving. Plenty of open space for that moment when you lose control and leave the track. Right, right-hand turn. Now.
This is terrible, this one.
Is it?
This course is...
Right, foot down now and up through those posts again. Down the other way. Foot down, Right. Whoa! Quick! With the finish almost in sight, Paul stalled the engine, but he was soon off again, and I was very impressed with his speed and obvious command of the car. The time was just under a minute. I've been driving far longer than Paul, and I thought I ought to be able to knock quite a few seconds off that. Coming through the post.
I thought you were going to knock one down.
My special handbrake turns were clipping seconds off Paul's time, but they nearly brought me to disaster. Oh, we're going to go in the field.
I'd hate to go in the field.
I got so enthusiastic I made one big error. I went round the last corner the wrong way and was disqualified. I'd done a faster time, but Paul was declared the winner. And I'm sure in years to come, the racing circuits of the world will be hearing a lot more of Paul Dawkins.
I'm sure they will. Great stuff, that. Now, if you've got a camera and you like taking snaps, then you might be interested to know that an album of photographs has just been officially designated as a work of art. It's this one here, and it's so unusual that when it was auctioned at Sotheby's last October, it fetched £52,000. And we've been lent it today by the man who bought it. He lives in America. He's called Mr. Sam Wagstaff. Now, it isn't the wooden cover with the carving on the front of it here that makes it so valuable. It's actually what's inside, because inside there are 94 photographs. This is the index of them all on the first page. They're made more than 100 years ago, these photographs, and they're all of famous people of the day, like the astronomer Sir John Herschel. Over the page here, the astronomer and writer Thomas Carlyle. And on this page here, the poet Alfred Lord Tennyson. Now, if you watched Val's special assignment over Easter about the Isle of Wight, you'll know that Lord Tennyson actually lived on the island. Val visited his house, and all the photographs in this book were both taken and fixed into the book by one of his neighbours, Mrs. Julia Cameron. Now, she is now recognised as one of the greatest pioneers of photography. The funny thing is, she became a photographer just by chance when she was a middle-aged lady of 50.
It's a rather odd story, actually. She was apparently the sort of woman who would plunge into new hobbies with great enthusiasm, and she was also always telling other people what to do, purely for their own good, of course. I think she sounds rather an alarming person, but she was also very charming, so she got away with it, and most people were very fond of her. Well, one day, her husband was off on a long business trip to Ceylon, and her daughter and son-in-law, thinking that she might be rather bored in his absence, decided to give her a present. Well, they decided to give her a camera, a newfangled camera, but it wasn't a nice, handy, pocket-sized one. The camera they gave her was more like this one that Pete's bringing in, that we borrowed from the Kodak collection.
It's extremely heavy. It's made of wood and has brass fittings all over it. And as soon as Mrs. Cameron saw it, she fell in love with photography. I think it would have put me off, actually. You can imagine, to take the photograph, you have to put the photographic plate in this end of the camera here wet. It has to be fixed into there. The plate measures 15 by 12, so it was pretty large. Then the lens hood at the front here has to be taken off, and the exposure could last anything up to 7 minutes. You can imagine how terrible that would be for the person sitting having their portrait taken. It would seem more like 7 years, and the exposure didn't finish until the lens hood was firmly placed back on there like that. And, of course, then the plate had to be taken out. It had to be fixed, washed, dried, heated, varnished, and all of that had to be done by the photographer himself, or herself in this case. You couldn't just send it off to the chemist, because they didn't do that sort of thing then. And any accident at any stage during all that, the whole thing would be ruined. Well, Mrs. Cameron practised and practised, trying very hard to perfect her art, with no success. She even got a local farmer to pose for her at 2 and 6pence an hour, half a crown an hour. No success again, until eventually, though, she did have one success. It was this striking picture of a young girl in the next village, and she actually wrote on the bottom of it there, "Annie, my first success."
Well, after that, there was no stopping her. She turned the coal house into a dark room. She turned the hen house into her studio. My glass house, she used to call it. Well, if ever she saw a prospective sitter on the island, she'd go rushing after them. "I am Mrs. Cameron," she used to say. "You may have heard of me. I would like to take your photograph. Will you allow me to do so?" Whether they were a bishop or a railway porter didn't make any difference. She wouldn't take no for an answer. Well, every member of her family was photographed by her, and the results were remarkable. This was her elderly husband, Charles. She made him look like a prophet. Then there was her baby grandson, fast asleep. She called Mary, the parlour-maid, to come and pose in the glass house, so that lunch was late for everybody. Every good-looking neighbour on the Isle of Wight was immortalised. Everyone looked very intense and serious, because of course no one could "smile, please" for 7 minutes on end. Mrs. Cameron tried her hand at group photographs, as if single portraits weren't hard enough. And then she began dressing up her sitters in fancy costumes. She made pictures that told stories, like artists of the time used to do. This was called "Pray God Bring Father Safely Home." One unwilling model declared, "Sitting itself is rather trying, but when it comes to dressing for the part, the penalty imposed on the sitter is distinctly trying." The children hated the whole business. We came at her summons. We trembled, had we dared, when the round black eye of the camera was turned upon us. Aunt Julia was terrifying, a niece remembered when she was grown up. Dressed in dark clothes, stained with chemicals, and smelling of them. "Stand there," she shouted, and, scantily clad, we stood for hours. She tousled our hair with ungentle hand to get rid of the prim nursery look. No wonder the photographs of us looked insecure and wistful. That is how we felt. But Mrs. Cameron was absorbed. The new hobby had become a life work which kept her busy from morning till night. Her favourite sitter was her greatest friend and neighbour, the poet, Alfred Lord Tennyson. The pictures of him became known to all his admirers, and her fame spread. "You've made me look like a dirty monk," he protested about this one. But all the same, he brought his famous friends along to the formidable photographer. He took the American poet Longfellow with the grim words, "You will have to do just what she says. I'll come back soon and see what's left of you."
Well, today, Julia Cameron's pictures are so highly prized that this album is on show at the National Portrait Gallery, and they're hoping to collect enough money to buy the collection back from Mr. Wagstaff and keep it there forever.
Well, there's one other place that you can see Julia Cameron's pictures, and it's somewhere very unexpected. It's a railway station at Brockenhurst in Hampshire, and one wall of the waiting room is covered with her portraits. They're copies of the originals because British Rail has the real ones in safekeeping. But even so, there are literally hundreds of these about. Now, these are original prints. They're made by Julia Cameron, and she's signed them along the bottom. And she used to carry armloads of these around with her, and she used to sort of scatter them left, right and centre to railway porters, etc., in place of tips.
Yeah, they weren't too pleased about it at the time, I'm sure, but actually nowadays they really are worth a lot. But as Lesley said, there are several hundred of these around in the country, scattered around the country. There might even be one in your house. If you do find one, remember, it must have her own autograph, Julia Margaret Cameron, across the bottom there. Then if you do have one, you really have got an original work of art. Now, over to John.
I had a look at that book earlier, and it really is interesting, but £52,000, whee! Now then, on Sunday, Val's next special assignment takes her to the Isle of Man, famous for its Manx cats and its skippers. And something else Val investigated were the famous TT motorcycle races. She even rode around the course, although she didn't actually break a record.
One of the secrets of the TT's popularity is that anyone with a bike has the chance to try out the course, especially on the Sunday when no races are held. The locals call it Mad Sunday, and I was just mad enough to try it, but on the slowest two-wheeler I could find. This is roughly the speed riders managed on the very first TT. Their bikes had no gears, and even the man who won the race had to get off and push up this hill. Since then, speeds have increased dramatically. 50 miles per hour in 1920, 90 miles per hour in 1950, and anything up to 120 miles per hour today.
And the time to remember for Val's special assignment to the Isle of Man is 5 to 5 on Sunday, BBC One.
Well, we'll be back the following day, and I hope Leslie's voice will, on the Monday. But before that, we've got an awful lot of judging to do.
Yeah, we certainly have. Tonight, straight after Blue Peter finishes, we're going to begin the final judging of our Expo 75 painting competition. It looks as though we've got a very difficult time ahead of us. This is the scene yesterday in the large hall where the paintings are being sorted and unpacked. And so far, we've counted over 130,000 entries.
Oh, we'll let you know on Monday how we get on tonight.
See you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.